This is a tutorial on how to digitize your assessment sheets or worksheets. As we all know, assessment and feedback are essential elements of teaching to help our students to know how to improve and progress in our subjects. And this is the reason why I got involved with Google Classroom's training this year. Google Classrooms is great as a tool for communicating and sharing information with classes. It's great for creating an online learning community, and it's really good for teachers who would like to become a bit more eco-friendly and try to create a paperless classroom. It's quite good for immediate and ongoing feedback on individual writing tasks, but in my opinion, this is where it has its setbacks. The main setback I find is that it's not easily integrated into our school system. From what I have seen in the school, each department has spent a lot of time creating individual marking and assessment sheets. And these are all well suited to the subjects being covered and relevant to the school's assessment structure. Our students have become familiar with these over time. Psychologist Seth Godin once said, "A brand is a set of expectations, memories, stories, and relationships that, taken together, account for a consumer's decision to choose one product or service over another." Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that, unknowingly or not, we have created our own brands which our students have connected with. The pro of Google Classrooms is that it is so open and it can be used by everyone. But I feel that this lack of integration, customization, and branding ability makes it hard to connect with personally in the way that students have connected with the in house assessment sheets, which naturally show the personalities of the departments and the subjects who are using them. And I believe that over time will become problematic for us to maintain student engagement. Students need to be able to identify and connect with software so that they enjoy using it. Students need to enjoy doing things if we are going to expect them to do that thing regularly. Basically, we don't want to lose our department brand identity, and we want to allow our students to identify and build a relationship with each of our subjects. So I decided to try to use Google Apps and Google Classroom to try to find a solution and create a way of successfully digitizing our school's personal assessment sheets. And after a lot of trial and error, I'm pleased to report that it can be done. I've not seen it done in this way before, and there may be a better way, so I'd be happy to know if you have any ideas. But as it is, not only will this allow you to continue to use your department's familiar assessment sheets, but it will save paper, stop physical assessment sheets getting lost or getting binned, and you can have a copy, and the students can have a copy with no printing or paper involved. And as the assessment sheets will now be on the cloud, the students can access those assessment sheets whenever and wherever they like because you've not got them locked away to keep them safe from the bin. Okay, so step one, you're going to want to open your document or scan it in and save it as a JPEG image. There's not always an option when you right click to save image as, so there are some solutions to this. Once you've scanned your image in, you can actually copy it in a number of ways. If you're on a PC, you can use the snipping tool. And if you're on a Chromebook like I am, then you need to simultaneously hold down the Shift and Control key and the switch window key. And this will make your screen go a little bit grey and your cursor will change as well. And you just drag across the area which you want to copy. And this should create an image which you can copy to clipboard, and that will save as a screenshot, which I will access in a minute. The next step, step two, is to go to your Google Apps and open Slides. Start a new presentation. So you'll see on Google Slides that your slide is not to A4 proportions. So that's the first thing that we need to work on. We need to go on to File, scroll down to Page Setup, and on this box you are going to go and select Custom. And we are going to measure this in centimetres. The size of A4 paper is 21 by 29.7 centimetres. Don't ask me how I know that. I just do. So then you're going to click apply, and ta-da, now you have an A4 slide. The next thing is we are going to select any boxes that are automatically on there because they're just going to get in the way. And we are going to change our background to the image of the screenshot we just copied. So you're going to go to background, choose image. On here, you are going to go onto your Google Docs and you are going to find your image wherever it might be. Aha, here it is. Should be in your Google Drive somewhere. So now I've got my Year 9 art assessment sheet as a background. We're going to click done, and that's how we want it to be. It's good to put your background image as a background image rather than a large copied image which you can move around, because the background can't be moved and it can't be deleted. So that's going to save you from some problems later in the future. Okay, so now for the easy bit, we're going to add text boxes anywhere where you would like to write, or where you'd like a peer to write, or where you'd like the students themselves to write. So we're going to go to Insert, Text Box, and we are going to just put a text box here because I'd like a student to write here. And I'm going to write student comment ... I'm also going to highlight that text, and I'm going to make that text a nice bright blue so it stands out from the assessment sheet. What I like to do is I like to create student comments in blue, peer comments in green, and I like to use my purple pen of progress for any teacher comments. This just makes it really visual, and it allows your students to see where they're supposed to write, where their peers are supposed to write, and where you're supposed to write. It helps to stop any confusion. So I'm going to copy that text box into any areas where I want the student to write. And I'm going to be really lazy, and I'm just going to copy that into the peer, and I'm going to change the text. So I'm going to change it to peer comment. I am going to highlight that text, and I am going to make it green. A green that you can actually see. Don't go for the really sort of light green, otherwise no one will ever know what anybody has written. Peer comments are not supposed to be secret letters. They have to be seen. Okay, and I am going to pop my purple pen of progress area, and I'm going to make this text box a bit bigger so it sort of fits the area. That'll just sort of save you having to make every text box bigger when you get onto the assessment sheets officially. So I'm going to write teacher comment ... and I'm going to change that to purple. And here I can copy the teacher text box. Just doing this very quickly. I would do this and line things up a little bit nicer so it looks better. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to do it really quickly for you to see. So here you can see blue areas are for student comments, green areas are for peer comments, purple areas are for teacher comments, and we could add other text boxes for, adding attainment and effort grades later. Obviously, they would be written by me. So okay, so you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Let's add a little space for Okay, so you should end up with something that looks a little bit like this. You've got an area for their name, although that's not essential, but it might be good if you do choose to print them out, you'll know whose comments are whose. Blue areas are for students to write in, green areas are for peers to write in, and purple areas are for the teacher to write in. It's also a good idea to insert a shape at this point, and we're going to insert a little circle, and this will allow us to circle, what grade they've got later in the year. So we're just going to circle around that, and I'm going to format it to make it quite obvious. So I'm going to change the thickness of the line and things. I think you can do that up here actually. Is that? Yeah, I'm going to change this to 4 pixels, and I'm going to change the color to purple because it's my purple pen of progress. Oh, no, I don't have it as transparent, but change the color of the line to purple. There we go. So now I'll be able to copy that and circle whichever grade I want to give them at a later date. So we're just going to leave it as that. I'm going to save this presentation as Year 9 assessment sheet. And I'm going to call it version 3 because I think I've already got 2 versions of this. Now you're going to want to go to Google Classroom. So I'm going to open a new app. I'm going to go to the apps here, and I'm going to select Google Classroom. Here you can see all of my classes. I've made a class up just for the purposes of this tutorial. And here is my made up class. So on this page, it's like a Facebook page in that you can see all of the announcements and messages and assignments. All of that is going to appear on here. Without choosing to organize it, it can become quite difficult to sort of backtrack and find things later. So I'm going to show you how to make it easily accessible to people in the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on to classwork. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about our organization. So we're going to click on to create, and we are going to create a topic. So this is going to be the assessment topic. And then I've made the assessment topic, so now I can make something to put into it. So now we're going to think back to that Year 9 assessment sheet that we've just created, and we are going to make it into an assignment that the students can edit and you can edit. So I'm going to go back on Create, but this time I'm going to click on Assignment, and the title can be Year 9 Assessment. And in this instructions area, what you could write is, just some instructions for the students. So here you will find an assessment sheet. We will work on this in class, or as homework. Okay, so you can create, something for the students to read, so they'll know what the assignment is. Although it's an assignment project and it's an assessment project, we are not going to have it as a graded thing. So we're going to click ungraded, because the grade will be circled on the actual assessment sheet. We aren't going to set a due date either for this assignment. It's going to run for the whole year, so you can access it for the whole year. And as the topic, we are going to use the topic that we have just created, and this will mean that it will be much easier for students to access at a later date. And now we're going to attach the document to the assignment. So if you click on this little paperclip in the bottom corner and you go to My Drive, if you remember rightly, we saved it into the Year 9 art folder. And so we can select the Year 9 assessment sheet, and it should appear there. So at the moment, the students can view the file, but they can't edit it. So that wouldn't be right for what we want it to do. So we're going to have a little look. If we chose this one, students can edit the file, but they all end up with exactly the same file, and they can all edit that one file. So that would be problematic for what we're trying to do. We need to make sure that we give each student their own individual copy, which they can edit. So that's the third option. And we are going to assign that task. So you can see the assignment is there, the assessment assignment. It's also on our stream, but as time goes by and we put more things, more announcements and messages and resources onto this feed, this will move down. So you can always access it now on the classwork. Because you've created that topic, it will always be under the assessment topic, and that won't move down over time. So if we click on that, we can view the assignment, and we can sort of see that this has been assigned to 3 students. None of those students have turned that in yet because we've only just assigned it. And here are our students. So if we could click on Stephanie here, we can see that it starts to appear. It might take a few seconds to appear. We can actually edit any of this document now. So say if Stephanie had done a drawing, I might give her some feedback. So I might say, well done. Well done, Stephanie. You have used tone very effectively to create volume in your drawing. So that will appear for Stephanie. And then I could go to the next student, and we've got Leander. So maybe Leander has sort of created a really accurate pencil drawing. So I could say this this is okay. I've written this is a very accurate pencil drawing. Now use tone to create the illusion of volume. And once you've given one student a bit of feedback, then you can just use the arrows at the top to select the next student. And your next assessment page should appear. So I'm just going to select this box here where I'm going to write, and I'm going to give Stephen some feedback. I've said this is an excellent drawing and you have used tone very effectively. So you can write your comments in the purple boxes. You could write on the green boxes and the blue boxes as well, but we are saving those for the student comments and the peer comments. But another thing that you might want to do is you might want to circle what grade you have given the student. So say if you've got a sheet that you would need to circle. So you've already created that circle earlier. You could do Control C, Control V to create another circle. And maybe the attitude to learning is really, really good, but the independent work could be a bit better. So you're going to give them a 1 for attitude to work, but a 2 for independent work. And time management, let's say, time management was really good. So they finished everything in time. But, it would be nicer if they did their homework with a little bit more flair. So that's how you can use these assessment sheets. And we can, if we sort of click on these arrows at the top, then you can go back through them. The students can each access their own individual one, but Stephanie, for example, would not be able to access Leander's without sort of swapping phones, or without Leander sort of saying, I've logged in, this is my one. Can you fill in the peer comments for me? So that would be something that you probably would need to do as homework, or they would need to share a link with a friend somehow. So peer comments might be more challenging to do, but it is possible to do in lesson time if you've got access to computers or if you've got access to phones. So I've tried this and it's worked so far for me. There have been some slight hiccups as we've been learning to use it. So one of the cons of this is that not all of my students have actually accessed Google Classrooms yet. So that has taken a little bit of time out of lessons to log them in. Not all of them are completely aware of what their email address is, especially if they've got hyphenated names. But there is an easy way that you can access the student emails as a teacher. So that will be, you can go onto the people section in your class and you can actually look up their individual email addresses and help them that way. Another little problem is if you're trying to get them to access it on their phones, some phones work straight away and you can just do it through a Google search and you don't need the apps. Some phones seem to need the app for it to work. So for this to work, for example, you would need the Google Classrooms app, but you'd also need the Google Slides app. And there are other apps. In this case, you wouldn't need them, but in other cases, you might need them. There's Google Docs and I've forgotten the name of the other one, like the Excel one, Google Sheets as well, that you might also need. So, that could be a slight problem. But I think once you've got most students used to the system, once they've all logged on, once they've all got the apps, and it becomes a regular part of lessons, it probably won't be a problem. It's just the teething problems, I think, I hope. And if that is a problem, if the mobile phone issue is a problem, then you can always just get them to access it on their PC at home anyway, because all PCs work with Google. So you can just set it as a homework if they can't do it in lesson time. This is just a little idea, so use this technique in any way you can imagine using it. It doesn't have to be for worksheets or booklets or assessment sheets. If you can think of another way of using it, it would be great to hear your ideas. Or if you have any ideas on improving it, I'd be really happy to hear those too. So good luck, and I hope you enjoy this process. Thank you.